We are now on page 30 of your workbook.
As a yellow belt, your main role is primary problem solving, but another critical role is supporting DMAIC projects and participating as a team member on projects led by green belts or black belts. This chapter is about preparing you to be strong and competent as a team member. You will learn the objectives of each phase, and you will be exposed to the main tools or methods used in each. When you do participate in a larger improvement project, you will have a greater understanding of the flow of the project, and you'll be a very valuable asset to the team. As you learned in white belt training, DMAIC is an acronym that stands for the phases of an improvement project: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. In this section of the training, we will dive into each phase and we'll share with you the purpose and main milestones for each. Let's go through the phases of DMAIC, getting to the heart of a green belt project.
The DMAIC cycle is based upon a method that comes from biology and other sciences. This method is called the scientific method. The scientific method has 5 basic steps plus a feedback or learning step. The scientific method is the only way to ensure that we learn from our experience. These steps are: 1. Making an observation. 2. Ask a question. 3. Form a hypothesis, an explanation that can be tested. 4. Make a prediction. 5. Test the prediction. And 6. Use the results to make a new hypothesis or prediction. The scientific method provides a discipline to avoid making decisions based upon gut feel or best guesses. It facilitates decisions and solutions based upon data and actual observations. Each phase has a specific purpose, and the milestones of each phase must be completed before jumping ahead to the next phase. When a team believes that they have achieved the milestones of a phase, they arrange a meeting with a project sponsor to ensure that they are on track and that the project sponsor is in alignment with their decisions. These meetings are called tollgate meetings and are a really important mechanism for the team to stay aligned with the leaders of the business and to ensure that their efforts are not wasted.
The attendees of the tollgate meeting are the team members and the sponsor. The team may decide to include subject matter experts or other team contributors for particular phases of the project, but the team and the sponsor are the key participants. The possible outcomes of the tollgate meeting depend on the alignment of the team with the sponsor. The sponsor may ask the team to increase their scope, or collect additional data, or to do further analysis. The team may have gone in a different direction that's not aligned with the organization. The outcomes might be that the project is deemed to be on track and the team can proceed to the next phase, or it might be paused for more work to be done before the phase is considered complete. Now, let's explore the define phase. Before we start analyzing or improving anything, the completion of the project charter is the first major milestone for an improvement team. It's the first and maybe the most important, as it sets the trajectory for the remainder of the project. There are multiple pieces of information that the team must agree upon and compile, using the project information shared with them by their sponsor. The elements included in the charter are the business case, which describes the background of this project. It's the description of why this project is important and why it's important to do now. The business case is typically drafted by the project sponsor and is a way for the team to understand the importance of the project. It's from the business case that the team drills down and defines the next elements of the charter. The problem or opportunity statement is a clear and specific description of the problem that the team is expected to solve. It's not always a problem. Sometimes it can be an opportunity, like the opportunity to serve a new type of customer, or the opportunity to provide a new feature that we haven't done well before. The goal defines a measurable outcome that the team expects to reach after the improvement is implemented. Usually at the very beginning of a project, the team doesn't really know what they can achieve, but they begin to discuss their goal and they create a first draft using what they currently know or understand. The remaining items, the scope, the team members, and the high-level project plan are all important elements of how a team is expecting the project to run. What is in bounds? What's out of bounds? Who's on the team? And knowing what they know today, what's the expected time frame to complete each of the DMAIC phases?
The project charter is the first of many templates that we provide in Greenbelt training to ensure expedient, consistent, and thorough deliverables. As a yellow belt, you gain awareness of the tool. As a green belt, the next level up, you will have access to all the forms and templates needed to run a successful improvement project. The charter is a collaborative effort by the team, maintained by the project leader, and is an ongoing key communication tool for the team. On page 34 of your workbook is the bakery project charter that was drafted by the team. The business case was originally drafted by the project sponsor and was reviewed by the team when the project was initiated. The business case is a part of the charter that describes why this project is important and why now. It's a high-level description that ties the issue or problem to the greater objectives of the organization and is the starting point for the team. After the team does a bit of work and brainstorming, they create the initial problem statement, a succinct description of a specific problem that the team will work to solve. The problem statement describes one specific issue that is related to the business case. The goal statement is the objective that the team plans to reach by the end of the project. The goal is directly related to the problem. The team has done their best with the knowledge that they have at this time to draft a plan for when they will complete each phase of the project. They have worked to identify the scope of their project. They've done this by identifying the span of the process that they will analyze and potentially change. At this point, the team has identified that they will look at everything from the time the customer places the order to the time the food is delivered to the customer. And in their analysis, they will include looking at equipment, procedures, and will include all shifts. But they will not be assessing or changing anything to do with software, vendors, HR policies, recipes, or marketing. The charter now sets the framework for the team to continue defining the project.
When the project charter is completed, the team is now ready to move to the next milestones of the define phase, specifically creating a shared understanding of the process and the customer. This is not always as easy as it might seem. For many problems that have been defined, there are not clear boundaries. There may not be clear outputs and handoffs. At the top of page 35 of your workbook, there are 3 boxes. Think about making a sandwich. There are several steps from the beginning to the end of the process to make that sandwich. In your view, what's the first step in the process? Write that first step in the first box on the left. Then consider the last step. What's the final step in the process to make a sandwich? Then write that in the box on the right.
You may have had multiple ideas yourself, and there is no right or wrong answers, please. But for each participant of this course, your idea is likely to be a bit unique and not exactly like anyone else's. For example, as a first step, you may have picked go to the store to buy the ingredients, or pull out the cutting board and the knife, or maybe decide that you want a sandwich. The last step might be cut the sandwich, or put the sandwich on the plate, or deliver the sandwich to the person who ordered it. This is a critical point in the project for the team to create a shared or common understanding of the process. If we are working to improve a process and you think it starts when we're growing the lettuce for the sandwich, and I think it starts by pulling out the bologna from the fridge, we are misaligned from the very beginning. This is often one of the first hurdles for the team, to understand which process or function they will focus on and then identifying what is the end result or output of that process. At that point, it'll become more clear as to who their process customer is. Why is it so critical to identify the customer of the process? Because that's the only way we know what to aim for. Our customers are the only ones who can define what a good job looks like.
Think about our sandwich customer. What might be important to them? On the bottom half of page 35, jot down your ideas for what might be important to our sandwich customer. If you're ordering a sandwich at a cafe, what would you consider timely? How would you specifically define quality? The sandwich matches what I ordered. I have fresh ingredients. It's a good portion. It's not falling apart. And what about value? How would a customer define value? No more than $10 for a sandwich? Extra dressing at no cost? It comes with extra sides? Take a moment to jot down some ideas of what might be important to our sandwich customer. The bakery improvement team has done some work to align around the high-level steps of the process. Of course, there are many details that are not covered at this level. This is the level that's needed for the team to align around the basic process that they're aiming to improve, and to start gaining an understanding of the customer of the process. In this case, the customer is the end customer who's buying the sandwich. The team has done some research and discovered that, in general, the customer wants the following: fast service, a good value, good tasting food, friendly service, and they want the sandwich that they ordered. For this project, the as ordered piece can be drilled down to toasted. As ordered can mean anything, but for this project, we are focused on providing a properly toasted sandwich if that's what the customer ordered.
When we speak about customers in process improvement projects, we are referring to the customer of the process. That is, the person or group receiving the output of our process. But if we are an internal process, serving internal customers, we still maintain a clear line of sight to the end customer, the one who has trusted our organization to deliver a good quality product or service. Some improvement projects may focus on reducing costs or increasing profitability. However, we must do this without disrupting or deteriorating our customers' experience with us. We may have a project that focuses on improving our handoff to an internal customer, another function within our organization who receives our output. But we have to make sure that our changes that we implement do not negatively impact our end customer. And of course, we might be working directly to improve our customer's experience. No matter the type of improvement, the end customer is always in focus.
So we've completed the project charter, we've defined the process and the customer. Now it's time to think internally. Who in our organization is involved in this project? Who will be affected? Thinking this through early in the project is the only way to have a successful implementation in the end. There are many different levels or types of stakeholders. Some are decision makers, some are influencers, and others may have to do their part of the job differently in the future in order for our improvement to work. Regardless of their particular involvement, we need to understand their perspective and plan to work with them throughout our project. They will have information and insight that will help us avoid mistakes, and we need to respect and partner with them.
With the completion of the project charter, the identification of the process, the customer and our stakeholders, the project team is ready for the tollgate meeting with the project sponsor to ensure that their decisions and milestones are aligned and on track. If they are aligned with the project sponsor, he agrees with their direction, the team will gain approval to move to the measure phase.
Let's think this through a little for bakery. On page 37 of your workbook, think about who might be a main stakeholder for the Not Toasted project. The black belt is a resource for the team, but is not considered a stakeholder. Competitors are not stakeholders, and customers are much bigger than a stakeholder. The only stakeholder in this list is the sandwich makers. There are likely other stakeholders, which the team will have to identify. Once they identify a stakeholder, the next question is to identify their current perspective with regard to the project. This will help the team to take the right actions to keep the stakeholders engaged and on board with improving the process. There's no right answer here, but select one option to help with the last piece here. Once you have a specific stakeholder identified and you understand their current perspective on the project, you can begin to plan for how you will communicate with them. One simple method is to consider PAINT. That is, consider which of these 5 options would be best for this stakeholder. Will your approach be to persuade them into participating and supporting? Or can you appeal to their sense of greater good for the company or the customer? Maybe the best option is to include them in team meetings, analysis, or decisions. Maybe you can negotiate with them, offer them something in return to make their lives easier if they participate. The last resort is to simply tell. This requires authority and lacks any kind of buy-in, but in some cases it is the best option.
These basic concepts of stakeholder management are used to create a detailed stakeholder management plan that is used to keep our stakeholders closely aligned from the beginning of the project to the end. When a team has completed their stakeholder communication plan, they are ready to arrange their first tollgate meeting with the sponsor to review their defined phase accomplishments. If the sponsor is aligned with the project charter, agrees with the process, the customer understanding, and the stakeholder plan, the team will pass the tollgate and is now ready to move to the measure phase. Take a few moments to review your notes and get ready for a quick quiz on this chapter, the refine phase of DMAIC next.
Before we jump into measure, we'd like to clarify the difference between measure and analyze. A lot of people confuse the two phases. The two verbs, measure and analyze, are closely related in that they both involve data, but they are two different steps, two different phases of the project. The objective of the measure phase is to gather good, solid data, and the objective of the analyze phase is to perform analysis on that data. This phase, the measure phase, is about measuring the problem that we are solving and planning to gather all the data that we might need to understand the different factors in the process so that we can solve that problem. There are a lot of details involved in collecting data, and this phase of the project is time where we plan to measure correctly. Otherwise, if we don't gather meaningful data, we'll be wasting our time. The output of the measure phase is number 1, a baseline measure of the current scenario or problem, and number 2, collected data about the process that we're working on. When making improvements, one of the ways to conclude that a project was successful is to compare the before scenario with the after scenario. This is a simple concept, but can actually be complicated when many factors or complex processes are involved. Think about New Year's resolutions. For many, a resolution might be to get healthier in the coming year. Well, how would you measure healthier? Maybe weight? Your blood pressure? Inches? BMI? There are a lot of options, but which would best represent what you've actually changed in your health, that you've changed for the better? This brings us to our topic of baseline measures. When we're working to improve a process, once we've completed the define phase, we are ready to determine the best way to measure our baseline, the before measure, so we can compare it to the process after our improvement.
The baseline measure answers the question of how we will measure that leap from before to after. Did we get faster? Did we reduce defects? Did we increase customer satisfaction? On page 38 of your workbook, you will see a list of potential baseline measures that the Bread Not Toasted team has identified. The team will have to select which is the best baseline measure for the project. The best will be a combination of two factors, which are on the 2x2 table on the bottom of page 38. The factors to be evaluated are time and resources needed to collect the data. In other words, how hard or easy will it be to get this data? And the second factor is alignment with the problem of untoasted bread. How closely does this measure tell us about the toastiness of bread? The bottom left corner of the matrix means that we have a measure that is easy to get and closely aligned. That's what we are hoping for. The upper right corner is hard to get data and it's loosely aligned. So we'll try to avoid that if at all possible. Pause the video now for a moment and, using the numbers assigned to each potential metric, write the numbers on the matrix to identify how you'd rate each of the two factors. See if you can identify the best baseline measures using this filter matrix tool.
The bakery team has just completed the same filter matrix and has identified measure number 6, percentage of customer complaints about untoasted bread, as the most manageable and meaningful option.
We are in the measure phase and have determined what metric we will use for our project baseline. Now, the second part of the measure phase is to gather a list of measures that will help us to understand what in our process is causing the problem that we are working to improve. What data might we need to uncover the root cause of the problem?
The team starts by brainstorming a list of potential causes for the problem. If there's a large list of potential causes, the team might prioritize those potential causes to narrow the focus a bit. For each of those theories, the team will then determine if the theories can be verified with data. Not everything can be verified with data, so it takes some work to figure this out. Once the team has identified the theories that can be tested with data, the next step is to plan to collect that data.
It's not data, Claire, it's data. Before even starting the analyze phase, the team has some theories about the cause of the problem. They agree that some of these theories are worth exploring further. At this point in the measure phase, we need to determine whether we will be exploring and validating that theory by process analysis or by data analysis, or possibly both. Process analysis means that we will need to observe the process in action or assess all the detailed steps in the process. Data analysis means that we can actually collect metrics and analyze charts or graphs to see if the theory is supported.
Follow on the top of workbook page 39. Let's take a look at the theories that the team has agreed upon. The team agrees that the outlet might not work. That's theory number 1. Place a check mark on whether you think the team should collect data to verify this theory, or whether they should observe the process to validate. Next is the theory that the problem started last summer. Can we observe the process in action to determine if the problem started last summer, or might we collect data to support this theory? How about theory number 3? Workers are pulling the bread out of the toaster before it's ready. Can we observe this in action, or do we need to collect data to confirm? And lastly, theory number 4 is that the toaster is old. The team decides that theories 1, 3, and 4 can be validated through process analysis, but theory number 2 can be validated by collecting data. Their idea is to collect the number of complaints for each month for last year to determine if there was a spike last summer.
So we've identified the baseline measure and our analysis measures. The team is now ready for the third step, which is to plan all the details around data collection, the action of gathering data. There are a lot of details to be sorted out in order for our data collection to be done right. For each individual measure that the team will be going after, they need to define the measure, how it will be collected, and how it will be displayed. Data collection takes a lot of work, and this is not considered value-added work, unfortunately. These tasks cost a lot of time and resources, which make it even that much more important to do right the first time, so that we can confidently make decisions based upon the data that is collected.
Some of the questions that the team will have to answer are things like, what's the exact definition of the measure? How much data do we need? How far back do we need to go? What data should be included or excluded? Who will actually collect the data? Do we need to create new forms? What kind of chart or graph will we use to graphically display the data? We will be making decisions based upon this data, so it's extremely important that our data is good and reliable. If our data is sloppy, then our conclusions will be wrong, and the time and effort that we've put into this project will be wasted. Our solution will have a very low chance of success if we're basing our new improvements on bad data. The team completes the collection of data and is ready to review the baseline measure.
They had the data put on a simple bar chart as planned in their data collection plan. Each bar in the chart indicates the number of complaints for each type. The total number of complaints in the 2-week period was 86. And of those 86 complaints, 35 were about the bread not being toasted. Looking at the other complaint types, what else do we notice? The team has a discussion about the data and realized that the first 2 categories of complaints are about toast, under toasted and over toasted. Of the 86 total complaints, 57 were about toast. The problem that the team was tasked to solve was validated with data, and after some discussion, the team decides to change the scope of their project to include all issues with toast, not just bread not toasted.
So the team has confirmed that the problem that they are working to improve is a valid problem and is as significant as they expected. This doesn't always happen with projects. Sometimes a project makes it all the way through project selection, project initiation, and the define phase. But when it comes time to validate the baseline measure, the numbers don't support the project. The problem's just not as big as they expected. That's when the team brings the info to the sponsor for a decision on next steps. Those next steps might be to get a different baseline measure, or to change the scope of the project, or sometimes to kill the project altogether. If the problem is validated, the team is ready now to update the project charter with more details, and they're ready for the tollgate meeting with the sponsor.
On the bottom half of workbook page 40, you'll see the team's updated project charter. They have updated the problem statement and the goal statement to include both under-toasted and over-toasted problems. They are now eager to meet with their sponsor and get approval to move to the analysis phase of their project. Baseline validated, suspected root cause data collected, and ready for the team to analyze. Take a few moments to review your notes and get ready for a quick quiz on this chapter, the measure phase of DMAIC. Thank you. We are now on page 41 of your workbook, the analyze phase. So the analyze phase is a part of the project where we explore, investigate, and understand all the interrelated and complex issues that are contributing to the problem that we are working to solve. The path through the analyze phase is not linear and can go in different directions depending on our findings. In the measure phase, we began with identifying our initial theories of root cause. Some of those theories will be compared to data that we collected to see if our theories are valid. Other theories would be better confirmed by observing the process or investigating how the process actually operates at a detailed level. This is what we mean by the two types of analysis. Process analysis is where the team studies specific parts of the process to understand the causes. Data analysis is where the team will review the charts and graphs that were collected in the measure phase.
These two types of analysis can drive each other. For example, if we pulled data that shows that the problem is the worst in the Southern Regional Office, then we might go to that office to observe the process and see what's different there than the other locations. Or if we're observing a process and see that they're doing things differently on the night shift, we might go back to data collection and pull data that will confirm that results are actually different in the night shift. What we've done so far in our project is to define the project and create a solid foundation. We then collected reliable data so that we can do our job here, which is to understand the root causes of the problem. The team collected data in the measure phase. The team will analyze the charts and graphs that were gathered and will look for patterns and trends in the data that point to or validate root causes of the problem. The cycle between process and data analysis will continue until the team has validated enough root causes to support moving into the improve phase. This means that they've identified enough fixable issues that, if corrected, will get the project to its improvement goal. Sometimes the root causes are very well hidden or very complex and difficult to untangle. Other times, the root causes are apparent and very easy to validate. Either way, the team will have to make the decision of when they have done enough analysis. When they are satisfied with the magnitude of the root causes validated, they can update the project charter with the new information, and they're ready for the analyzed tollgate meeting with the project sponsor.
On workbook page 41, you'll see a run chart or line chart that the team will use to support their theory that the problem started last summer. On the y-axis of the chart, the axis on the left, we'll see the number of complaints about bread not toasted. On the x-axis, along the bottom, the data is separated by month, without getting into technical analysis. Just with the naked eye, does it appear that the theory might be supported? The complaints do spike as the weather heats up, so the team decides that the theory is worth analyzing further. With the data analysis completed for now, we can move to process analysis.
Process analysis is a combination of multiple methods to discover and understand the root causes of a problem. One of the major tools in the analyze phase is the process map. This is a graphical representation, or map, of the process so that we can understand how work actually flows through the process.
We don't just create process maps to document the process, but we create the map so that we can analyze the process. How much time is spent where? Why is there so much variation in how long a step takes? Where are the value added and non-value adding steps in our process? What types of waste can we see that are contributing to our problem? Another method of process analysis is to observe the process. This is called the Gemba walk in Lean terminology.
The analyze phase is about learning how the process actually functions so that we can discover very specifically how to make it better. In reality, we may start our analyze phase with either process analysis or data analysis, but either way, we're going to do both. The order depends on what's right for the project.
In your workbook on page 42, you'll see a nice blank space for you to draw your own process map. Using pictures only, no words, draw how to make toast. Pause the video to give yourself time to get it right. It should take you about 2 minutes. And go.
No matter how familiar you and your work group are with your process, each person will visualize the process differently. Let's take a look at some examples from this simple toast activity. You'll notice that some are quite good, while others are not, because let's just say that they hide certain aspects of the toast making process.
Some are all about the toast. Others are all about the toaster. Engineers love to draw the mechanics of the toast. Others are all about the people and visualizing the experience that people have.
And some drawings are all about the supply chain that goes all the way back to the store. It's obvious that even though the drawings are wildly different, they all have something in common. Most have tasks and flow, that is, the links between the tasks. And our drawings make visible how we think something works. They reveal our various points of view. Just from our basic drawings, we can begin to measure the complexity by looking at the number of tasks. This practice is a simple exercise to illustrate how a process map can help people solve complex problems. An informal map like ours might seem trivial, but our maps reveal truths about how we see our process and how we might collaborate to solve problems. One of the benefits of using a process map is that it allows us to break down complex things into simple things and then bring them back together again.
When we create process maps with a team, we start out with cards or sticky notes to show each of the steps in the process. As we progress with our mapping, we identify more logical and clear tasks, and we continue to build up the model. In reality, the exercise of process mapping starts off messy. Then it gets messier, and then clearer and clearer as we understand the process better. But the end result is a unified model that integrates the diverse points of view. The team collaborates and creates the model themselves. This process of reflecting and collaborating to get clarity on the process produces a very rich experience and allows the team to dive into the detail needed to understand what's really happening in the process.
So back to the team's theories. Theory number 2 was explored with data. They collected the number of complaints about toast to see if there was a spike during the summer. The team decided that theories 1, 3, and 4 would be best validated through process analysis. This means that the team will explore the details of how the process is actually working. This can be done through a combination of methods: process mapping, process analysis, and process observation.
Process mapping means that the team will identify all of the detailed steps in that specific part of the process and put those detailed steps into a process map. There are many different types of process maps, and selecting the right one is an important skill that is taught in the Green Belt.
Process analysis is what's done with the map once it's created. Analyzing the process map means that the team is looking for clues to the problem. Where's the most time consumed? Where is there rework and backwards flow? Where are defects made? Where are things done inconsistently?
And process observation. In Lean terminology, this is referred to as a Gemba walk. It means going to where the work occurs. Process observation is not intended to place blame or determine solutions. Rather, it's a time to respect the people and employees in the process and to understand how the process really operates. The bakery team decides to utilize process observation to see if they can validate their theories. Theory 1 is that the outlet doesn't work. Theory 2 is that some employees are pulling the toast out too early or too late. And theory 3 is that the toaster is broken. Process mapping means that the team will identify all of the detailed steps in that specific part of the process and put those detailed steps into a process map. There are many different types of process maps, and selecting the right one is an important skill that the green belt will learn in the next phase.
Process analysis is what's done with the map once it's created. Analyzing the process map means that the team is looking for clues to the problem. Where's the most time consumed? Where's there rework and backwards flow? Where are defects made? Where are things done inconsistently?
And process observations. In Lean terminology, this is referred to as a Gemba walk. It means going to where the work occurs. Process observations is not intended to place blame or determine solutions. Rather, it is a time to respect the people and the employees in the process and to understand how the process really operates. The bakery team decides to utilize process observations or Gemba walks to see if they can validate their theories. Theory 1 is that the outlet doesn't work. Theory 3 is that some employees are pulling the toast out too early or either too late. And theory 4 is that the toaster is broken.
This is where project scoping comes into play. To discover whether these theories are valid, the team doesn't need to observe the entire process, so they focus on the part of the process where the toast is made. And through their observation, they find that the outlet is fine. Theory number 1 is not supported. They observe that all the employees are following the standard procedure and pulling the toast out as soon as it pops up. So theory number 3 is not supported. They did, however, confirm that theory number 4, broken toaster, is valid. And while the team was observing the process, they discovered 2 additional causes. Some of the toaster settings were way too low and some were way too high. This was causing the toast to be under or overcooked. They also discovered that the toasters were placed directly under the air conditioning unit, which was affecting the ability for the toaster to heat. The team is now satisfied that they have verified 3 root causes of the toast problems.
The team is now ready to close the analyze phase. They have verified root causes of the problem. They have updated their charter to reflect their findings. And they have scheduled a meeting with their sponsor to present their progress and to ensure that they are aligned and to gain approval to move on to the improve phase. Take a few moments to review your notes and get ready for a quick quiz on this chapter, the analyze phase of DMAIC.
And here we are in the improve phase. Now that you've had a walk through define, measure, and analyze, you likely have a better understanding of how important these phases are. For most organizations without a Lean Six Sigma discipline, they jump right from idea to improve. It's easy to see how, unless it's a really simple problem, the likelihood of success is really, really low if we skip the critical milestones of define, measure, and analyze. So we're at the beginning of improve. We have validated the root cause of our problem, and our focus in this phase is figuring out the best way to eliminate or minimize those specific causes. In this phase, we'll generate many options for solutions, and then select the option that best fits our resources, time, and desired impact. Once the solution has been defined, the team will do a lot of work to test that solution to find and resolve any issues. Once the solution has been tested and refined, the new process can be implemented.
A common mistake when solving problems is to think that solution ideas should be obvious, or that we should just go with the first suggestion that is made, or even that we should just wait for a boss to tell us what to do. For effective solutions, it requires more broad thinking and an approach to ensure that we've really stretched our ideas to come up with many possibilities. Maybe we come up with easy solutions that will have a small impact, or more complex solutions that are more expensive but will have a greater impact. Regardless, at this point of our project, the objective is to use techniques to come up with multiple good options. A green belt will learn many techniques to gather solution ideas. These include brainstorming techniques, proven solutions, and best practices for common challenges, using lean improvement principles for removing waste and improving flow, and a method called 5S, which focuses on workplace organization.
The idea with generating multiple solutions is that it's usually not just one change. Typically, a problem may have multiple causes and multiple solutions that can work together. So we may have the opportunity to mix and match multiple solutions to create a new robust process that incorporates multiple ideas.
When the team has created solution ideas and has potentially come up with multiple good options, they'll then have to select which option is the best for their scenario.
So what does best mean? This is the first step, to establish the criteria for a good solution. This is typically a discussion between the sponsor and the team. What's more important, fast or impact? Cost or ease of implementation? The tools used to assist with this decision are the filter matrix, which allows us to weigh our options on 2 factors, and the criteria matrix, which allows us to define multiple factors or criteria under each category.
The objective here is to define and balance the key factors that we are trying to achieve. Balancing benefit, impact, meaningful improvement with cost, resources, time, complexity, and expertise.
If you recall, here is the filter matrix that we used back on workbook page 38 to select the bakery baseline measure. Pause the video here and review the potential solutions that the bakery team identified on workbook page 46. Recall the 3 root causes: toaster settings not consistent, toasters under the air conditioner, and broken toaster. Rate the possible solutions for untoasted bread on the 2 criteria provided: time and resources needed for the solution, from easy to hard, and impact on toast quality, low to high. Write the number for each solution in the intersection that shows your rating.
When the team has made their decision on a solution, they can continue with planning the details. These details will include a future state process map to illustrate any changes in the process. There may be updates to KPIs or key performance indicators for the process. For example, we may decide that we will monitor the toasting sessions on a daily or weekly basis to ensure that they are staying at standard. The team will update and document any new procedures or standard work. And at any time we are making a change, we will have to plan the test for the solution and make revisions to catch any details that we may have missed. In the define phase, we create a problem and goal statement. In the improve phase, we add our 3rd statement, and that is the solution statement. A concise description of the changes that will be made to minimize or eliminate the root causes.
Once all these steps have been completed, the team is ready to pilot the solution, to run a final test before implementation. The bakery team has developed solutions for the 3 root causes. They are purchasing a new toaster, they're moving the toasting location away from the air conditioning unit, and they have identified standard settings for the toasters. The implementation of a new way of working can be a pretty heavy lift, and like everything else, it has to be done right in order to work. It takes some planning to determine how the implementation will occur. All at once, one group at a time, one step at a time, and when we have solidified the timing and plan, we'll need to train all the employees so that they are competent at their new way of working. When the people get frustrated with new ways, they often revert to their old ways. It's important to remove those old ways, like forms, tools, practices, so that the people in the process can get used to the new way. When the new way is up and running, the team will have to monitor the process and people closely to identify anything that needs revision. Once it's up and running smoothly, the team will prepare to exit and hand over the newly improved process to the process owner.
Now take a few moments to review your notes again and get ready for another quick quiz on this chapter, the improve phase of DMAIC. We are now in our control phase, which is on workbook page number 49. An excellent workbook, by the way. The control phase is probably the least loved phase of DMAIC. When a new process has been implemented successfully, it can feel like the project is over and the team is usually ready to move on to the next exciting project or maybe even take a break. But if we do this right, most of the work for control will be done already through our previous phases. And this phase becomes more about tying up those last details to ensure that all the work that we've done up to this point sticks. In this phase, the team confirms that the goal was met and is able to point to return on investment or ROI for the project. And with the right controls in place, the team and all stakeholders can move forward with confidence that the improvements are sustainable.
Our bakery team has completed the implementation and has let the process run long enough to gather results. Comparing the baseline chart on the left to the chart on the right, we see that not only has the total number of complaints gone down, but the complaints about toast is almost gone completely. We had over 50 complaints about toast in our baseline and only 2 after our improvements. The team has now confirmed that their solution worked and that the goal was met. All good processes have key performance indicators so that we can easily and effectively monitor how our processes are running. When completing an improvement project, a key part of the control phase is to ensure that we have measures in place to detect problems early and to allow the team to respond quickly and effectively. The standard categories to monitor are indicated by the SQCDP on the graphic here. That stands for safety or security, quality, costs, delivery or timeliness, and people. Whichever of these areas was affected by the improvement should have an ongoing measure to ensure that the improvement is sustained and doesn't begin to slip. The bakery team has created a visual display in their break room area so that the whole team can participate in monitoring their performance.
When we have completed our implementation, we should be prepared for a few final revisions to address any details that we may have missed. Perhaps the documentation can be clarified in some areas. Maybe the workers have discovered a slightly better way to perform a new procedure. Revisions at this phase should not be major, but we should take the opportunity to tighten up any loose ends to make sure that our new process has every chance of success and sustainability. Whether the process changes that we made are large or small, this is the final step to document those new steps or practices. We have to look at our process documentation as our communication tool for all future workers in the process. Maybe the current employees understand the changes very well and they won't be referring to a new process map, but we need to prepare for changes in staffing as people change roles all the time. Our new process has to be strong and consistent as people come and go. Documenting the process is our tool to make this happen.
Through the analyze phase, the team would have identified critical measures or KPIs that are needed to properly manage the process. And as part of the improve phase, the team will have created consistent ways of working or standard operating procedures. Solidifying the KPIs, clarifying who does what, and formalizing the standard work are critical steps in the control phase. The final piece needed to ensure that our gains are sustained is to hand over the improved process to the process owner, all nicely packaged with process documentation and measures in place. The process owner is typically the manager or leader of the function or department. They are a key stakeholder and will have been working closely with the team from the very beginning. At this step, the team is formally exiting the project and turning it over to the process owner.
And before we end our improvement adventure, we must take the time to properly close the project. Project closure is a time for the team to reflect and share learnings. The team will discuss lessons learned, what worked well with the project, and what didn't. They'll document the project details and create a storyboard to tell the major milestones of the project and how it progressed. Almost always, while investigating a process, the team will discover other areas of opportunities. This is a time for the team to gather those ideas so that they can be communicated as potential improvement projects for the future. And finally, it's important for the team to celebrate their work and to appreciate all that they have accomplished.
And now we've completed our walkthrough of the DMAIC project. As you begin to take actions towards achieving important goals, we must realize that not every action will be perfect. Not every action will produce the perfect desired result. Not every action will work, especially as we're learning new skills, making mistakes, getting it almost right, and experimenting to see what happens are all part of the process of eventually getting it right and realizing amazing results. So we've walked through the phases of DMAIC to give you a bit more insight into what goes into creating real sustainable improvements. We've gone through the structure of DMAIC and touched on some of the tools, but it's important to understand that no matter how sophisticated and amazing the tool is, we are working with people, and the people side of things can prove to be the most challenging and rewarding of all. Take a few moments to review your notes and get ready for a quick quiz on this chapter, the control phase of DMAIC.